Captain Kelly here. Welcome back to the Captain's Classroom. Today I've got my engineer with me, Alex.
Hello.
And he's going to give us a little bit of insight on some of the gadgets and gizmos that we have for the engineering department on board, and why, as a captain, that you should have a sound-based knowledge of engineering and how your vessel operates, just so that you can speak the lingo with your engineer, so that you can speak to any other vendor that you might have, and so that just you yourself have a sound understanding of how the vessel operates. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. So this one's one you don't see very often.
Hold it up.
It's basically a tone generator and probe. Some people call it a fox and hound. So this is useful for finding wires, even finding data.
What were we using it for the other day?
For listening to data and stuff. And actually, no, finding wires in general. It's a little tricky to use. You have to know how to use it exactly. But this might, it's a lifesaver sometimes when it comes to finding wires and circuitry and even fuses. But again, not very many people use this. It's mainly a contractor use, but just so you get familiar. And you can also check continuity with this. And just a little sample. So what it basically does is it sends a signal through a wire, and you just listen for it like that. And you just continue, and you just basically just follow around until you find where you need to go.
And so this thing, that gives you a basic idea of what this does. But if you come back into part 2 or part 3, or however in depth we want to get with each of these instruments, we'll come back and we'll actually show you a real life situation of how we do it on the boat. And what's this guy?
All right, so this is an old school device. Not very many people use it. Simple. All it basically is a light bulb inside it, but it's just a test light, and it does have its uses, especially when it comes to a bad connection. When you have a bad connection, it actually won't light, like maybe you might see voltage on your meter when it really isn't there. But cheap, simple device that if you need to find DC voltage, yeah.
So what part are you putting where? Because I see you've got the alligator clips here, and then you've got this pointy end here. What goes where?
Well, if it's an incandescent light bulb, so it really doesn't matter too much which one goes where. Normally you would put this on the negative and this on the positive of the circuitry you're trying to find.
So then if the light bulb lights up, it's good?
Basically, yes. If
Okay.
the light bulb lights up, now it depends on what voltage to. You might have just one that's for 12 volt, 6 or 12, or even a range. But basically you're just closing the circuit, seeing if the light bulb lights up.
I think we're going to have to do individuals on each of these
Yes, we
pieces
will.
of equipment. This thing that roams around in your pocket all the time and tries to get in the laundry, what is this?
Okay, so this is a great reference device. So especially say for shore power, if you just connect it to shore power and you want to see if there's actually power there, basically, on this case you push the button, you put it near an AC power source, and it'll make a noise and light up. And it's good for reference. I wouldn't go, say if you have a live circuitry and you check and you don't get a sniff, I wouldn't go ahead and just touch it. I would still check it with a meter and of course make sure that it's locked out.
You did say a sniff. A sniff?
Yes,
like a sniff?
Sorry, yes.
Is that the technical terminology that
I don't know. That's what we've always called it in these just it sniffs out frequency basically.
Okay.
Passive.
So when it lights
device.
up, you got a positive sniff.
Yes, if it makes a little chirping tone and a little light goes off, then yeah, you have AC voltage, not DC. AC voltage, alternating.
This guy, we went shopping for it the other day. You wanted a new one.
Especially a fluke.
So it's brand new, no scratches, not been used much.
Not yet.
Go ahead.
So basically, all right, so digital multimeter, this is what's known as a clamp meter, okay? This one does both AC and DC amperage. So what you're actually doing on this, the difference between, let's say, this and a normal DMM digital multimeter, right, is a clamp. And with a clamp, what you're actually doing is you have a line, let's say, you could actually put the line inside and it'll tell you the amperage that you have, what you're drawing. With a normal meter, you can do that, but you'd have to put it in line, and normally you're up to 10 amps only. So this is great for checking your shore power or even stuff like that, just to make sure your amperage is there. Besides that, you still have most of the functions you have on a normal meter. You can still check voltage, AC and DC. You could check your resistance, ohms. And in the case of this one, you can do both amperage on DC and alternating. A lot of them don't have the capabilities of doing direct current. It's just a little more difficult. So your higher end will do it on DC, and most of them you have to zero out. So when you turn it on to DC, you have to zero it out, and then you're ready to go. But yeah, your higher ends have that capability. And I guess that leads us to,
last but not least,
yeah, your multimeter. Your multimeter is multifunction. This is a must tool to know how to use, really, if you want to do any kind of checking. Just your basic meter is just going to check voltage, both alternating and direct. It's going to do your ohms or resistance, continuity check, and frequency. And then you have some that you could check diodes, resistance, resistors, temperature, and stuff like that.
Aren't you missing some pieces to this thing?
Well, yes, I don't have the leads on them just so it looks prettier right now.
Oh, okay, we're just not there yet.
But yeah, once we do the test, we'll show you how to do all that.
So there you have it. Thanks for joining me with my engineer Alex and going over some of the gizmos that we use on an everyday basis on here. Come back for part 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, and we'll do an individual segment on each of these devices.